What is going on, guys? Stock Easy here, and I wanted to make a video today while this camera is still bubbling online. I have a bunch of stuff that I need to release. I got about 4 videos in the pipeline, edited and ready to go, but I didn't even tell you what camera this was. Hold on. Let's do this over again. What's going on, guys? Stock Easy here, and today I wanted to make a quick video on the M10 Monochrom. I've been shooting with this camera for the last week now, and I was gonna wait to make a video about it because I have so many videos in the pipeline already edited and ready to go, which is why I've been releasing a video every week. But it felt more relevant to me to make this video now about this camera because everybody's Googling it still, and it's obviously brand new. So let's talk about this for a little bit. To be honest, I don't have too many thoughts about this camera. This is an incredibly luxurious item to have. I like to shoot in black and white and color, so I don't mind converting my files. But in order to justify buying an M10 Monochrom, you really got to be Alan Schaller or a Ralph Gibson or somebody that only shoots in black and white. I like to shoot in color, and for the price of this camera, it's not really justifiable for me. But I did shoot something upstate that I want to show you guys in a second. I don't know if you can tell, but when I walk around with the M10 Monochrom, I always walk around with my QP for color. Sorry about that. So I'm back. I had a lot of errands to run around today, and I started shooting. Totally forgot to keep on vlogging and talking about this camera. But the good news is I got more photos that I can show. I'm just heading back into the studio right now, and then we'll start to review the images that I took, and we can speak a little bit more about this camera in a second. Alright, so I'm finally back at the studio now, and the good thing about being here is I haven't talked to you about a second camera that I actually wanted to let's try this out.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Leica Talk, and I'm your host, Stock Easy. And today we're going to talk about some Leicas. We got the SL2, we got the Leica QP, we got the Leica M10 Monochrom. I'm going to show you some photos real quick. Check these out. What'd you think of those photos? Pretty nice.
Anyway, back on topic here. I hope you guys are digging this little setup. I didn't really think about this. I kind of just threw this together. This is inside my studio in Chinatown. This is what I usually shoot portraits on and things of that nature. And a couple of months ago now, when Samuel was here, we actually kind of set up a similar set like this, and we talked about, wow, these are dusty. We set up a similar set like this, and we kind of talked about having a studio kind of set up as opposed to me just talking by my desk a little bit more. But it kind of felt a little, what's up, guys, Stock Easy here. And I didn't really want to go for that vibe. It's not really my vibe, but rarely do you guys catch me in, or do I make videos in this environment anymore. So, but today I figured, you know, why not? I didn't feel like slapping the POV on this camera and going outside. I had already been shooting with it for a couple weeks, and I just kind of want to show you guys some photos and talk about it just a little bit. I have absolutely been enjoying this camera. Put my phone down because it's going off. I've been absolutely in love with this thing. I usually have it paired with the Noc Deluxe on top of this when I'm shooting portrait work and some of the photos that I showed you already. But in this instance, I keep the 35mm Summicron on here. The black and whites that come out of this camera are just so, they're so creamy. They're so dynamic. The 40 megapixel sensor inside this thing really helps to create an image that is sharp and just brilliant. Would I buy one of these monochromes? It's a bit of a hard sale for me because I like to shoot in both color and black and white. And so when I'm outside, I usually carry the Monochrom, and I'll carry the Leica QP with me so that I have an option to shoot in color. But that's probably a bad idea, as Alan Schaller just said in one of his videos. A great tip for black and white is to go outside and see in black and white. It's a very different thing when you're outside just shooting black and white for the fun of it. You need to kind of see in black and white, and that might be great advice for me to just kind of walk outside with only this and the intention to shoot black and white. And when I have an intention to go shoot color, you go do that, because it does require two different thought processes, two different state of minds to just shoot in black and white. You need to see the world in black and white. Yeah, I mean, I've been shooting with the M10P which Leica had loaned me for about 6 or 7 months. I was rocking with that camera, so this was actually a fairly easy transition, except on this camera now, the ISO goes up stupid high. You can go up to, I can't remember what it was, but right here on the dial, it says 12,500, and 1,000, that's what it goes to, 1,000 ISO. And I'm gonna snap a quick photo and show you guys what that looks like if I can focus my camera. Oh, of course it's overexposed. My eyes are bad. How am I a photographer with eyes this bad? Oof, we're still way over.
It's a little too dark. Let's open up a little bit more. Go.
Okay, and now I'm gonna shoot one at 12,500, so you can see actually how good the ISO control is on this camera. It's actually pretty phenomenal. This is a little backlit, obviously, because I have a light right here. But let's shoot in this direction. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in on this image and you'll see this is a 12,500 ISO shot coming from this camera with the color filter removed, only seeing in black and white. Basically gives it way better low light handling. So I watched a video on YouTube, I can't actually remember who it is, but if I do find them, I will link it. And they were talking about how this camera sees in the night, and I did not know that that was one of the strong suits of this camera. And had I known that, I would have been pushing the ISO. So great job from Leica with this. The monochromes are a beast of the camera, and the sharpness and the images straight out of camera are incredible. So I'll maybe show you guys a couple of images that are raw files, and I'll show you how I edited them, and maybe I'll find a couple overexposed and underexposed images so that you guys can see how far I can push these files and if they recover well. But I love this thing. It's extremely niche. If you only shoot in black and white and you're someone like Alan Chandler, this camera makes a ton of sense. I would probably go with the M10P rather than a monochrome. I love this thing. I would want to own it, but I couldn't justify $8,000 purchase since I love to shoot color. I don't just live in that black and white world. The next camera that I want to talk about real quick that I brought upstate with me was this, the Leica SL2, which is also very filthy. I'm so sorry. What very filthy? I'm so sorry. Such disrespect. Such disrespect. Who put all this down? So yeah, I brought this upstate, and it took a little bit of a beating, and the elements were intense, man. We were in the snow on frozen lakes and all that stuff, and this camera never quit on me. It caught itself in the snow a few times. Super heavy. It's a beautiful camera. I bought the adapter for this so it can go from Leica L mount to M mount, and I threw the Noctilux on it, and I took some photos with that too, and it just came out absolutely gorgeous. The colors from this camera are insane. It has a couple of film profiles in it. This is, this is like the run and gun workhorse of the Leica lineup, the SL cameras. This thing has an insane burst rate on it. I'll let you guys hear what that sounds like. Let me turn this bad boy on. Maybe the SD card I have in it can keep up. We're about to find out. But this is a quick shutter test. It's pretty impressive. So catching high-speed motorcycle action was no problem with this camera. I still caught a couple images with the Leica M10 monochrome and my trusty QP, but this thing just really stole the show, especially with this 24-90. This lens renders beautifully, so I was really happy. I'm thinking about maybe getting rid of my GFX and getting one of these, but that is not very realistic, as the GFX and the lenses on that system cost me about $6,000. The body alone on this is about $6,000, and this lens is about $6,000. So, Leica, if you're watching, we'll figure something out. We'll see what happens, but also was super blessed to be able to shoot what I was shooting upstate with this, because it was the workhorse, and it's weather sealed, and it has all that beautiful operation inside of that camera. And I constantly found myself reaching for this, but also I want to talk about the way this battery removes inside this camera. It's one of the illest things. This whole thing is weather sealed, which I don't understand, because the battery is just sitting right in there. And one of the cool things about it, this also is on the Q2. When you pull this knob, the battery pops out just a little bit, just a tiny bit, and it won't come out until you just give it a little, whoops. But you get it, you know what I mean? So yeah, super sick design, German ingenuity, Leica kills it. And then last camera I want to talk about real quick. I know this was a video that was just about the M10 Monochrom, but I recently sold a few pieces of gear because I wanted an everyday kind of shooting camera, and I do have really bad eyesight. So as much as I love shooting with the Monochrom, sometimes in the street it's really hard for me to be fast and focused, which is why it results in me shooting from the hip a whole lot, because my right eye is deteriorating a little bit because I have cataracts, so I need to learn to shoot with my left eye. But this has autofocus in it, and it has an EVF, which makes shooting for me just a little bit easier. And I just have to say that this is like an X100 series camera for all you Fujifilm shooters out there. This is the Leica QP. I now own this camera. This is like the X100 on crack. Why do I say that? Is because it's such a thoughtful camera. The features that they put in this, I really do wish the new X100 V would have included. Like, for one, I would love a lens that isn't focused by wire, that actually has hard stops. This makes street photography shooting so incredible, to be able to manual focus for people that shoot Leica. If they did this, they could have probably stole some of the Leica heads over to that X100V. Another thing that this camera includes that the X100V does not include is OIS. So that's another great thing. And when you pair that with this 1.7 Summilux lens that's on here, you're talking about nighttime shooting like you wouldn't believe. The thing just renders insane. I can shoot at 1/4 of a second and handhold this camera with the OIS that's built in. Which brings me to the last point, that 1.7. I mean, I know we got to hold out. You can't give everybody everything that they want, and I'm talking to Fuji here when I say this, is that like, you need to save something, right? So maybe in 2 years, or 2 more iterations of the X100 series, they'll probably give us like a 1.7, 1.2 aperture lens on there. But give it to us now. People will buy these cameras regardless. This is, to me, one of the greatest cameras ever made. I could have bought the Q2. I opted for the QP instead because I don't want 47 megapixels when I'm shooting street photography. 24 is my limit. When I shoot with the GFX, that's a 50 megapixel camera. This is a 40 megapixel camera. One day of shooting means that I'm generating anywhere from 5 gigs of photos to about 20 gigs of photos, and that's just too much for me. And I know you can shoot compressed, but if I'm shooting with an expensive file, I don't want to compress the files and lose any amount of detail with that. Last thing I want to say about this camera that is super cool is this. I'm gonna change the focus here so you guys can see right there. This macro lens here, the macro setting on the lens here, when you shift that, how sexy is that? The focal distance changes on the lens barrel so you can focus. Macro, the scale changes. That is just, I mean, with this one camera, you can do absolutely anything that you want. And the bokeh on, is the out of focus bits are pretty gorgeous. And I mean, this is pure sex hot fire right here, guys. That's black silk. Look at that. God damn. You know what? Let me give you a close-up of all these cameras before we wrap it up real quick, just so you guys can see. Monochrom. I apologize if these cameras are dirty. That's one of the things I hate the most when I watch somebody's videos and the cameras have a bunch of dirt and lint on them, and I'm just like, why didn't you clean it before you did all these beauty shots? These just came from upstate, and like I said, I was using them pretty hard. You see that has a little Monochrom moniker right there on the top. I was riding these cameras pretty hard, so I apologize if they're not as clean as they could be. I will give them a scrub down soon. And that is the big boy right there. That is the SL2. Golly geez, look at that glass. Look at all that glass. Damn, girl. Zoom in on it. Boop. Yeah. Okay, I do believe that is all the angles. Anyway, guys, I'm about to hit the road. I am taking a little road trip with my homies across, boom. So I'm about to hit the road right now with a couple of my friends. We're gonna be shooting Route 66. We're gonna take about a month to travel that route, starting in Chicago all the way down to LA. And I'm gonna be making content on the road and shooting these 3 cameras while I'm out there. So stay tuned. I hope you guys are interested in this stuff, and I'm excited to see what I get. It's my first road trip across America. I'm born and raised in New York, and while I've been traveling and life has been crazy the last 4 years, it brought me back to my childhood, and thinking about people that had traveled and taken these great American road trips. It never seemed like something that would ever be accessible to me, but that is the type of mentality that living in an impoverished community will bring. You don't expect to ever get outside of those environments because you don't really meet too many people in your immediate vicinity that are capable of doing those things. So for me, being able to do this trip is the ultimate luxury, and it really says a lot about destroying stereotypes and these mindsets that we create, false barriers. I never thought that I'd be shooting Leica cameras just a couple years ago, and here we are now. It's a great feeling, and I appreciate you guys being along for the journey. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.